Jen from Jen's Extraordinary Life, and today we are going to make snickerdoodles. I'm super excited about this. I found this recipe from Beyond Frosting. I'm going to drop the link to her recipe in the description, but this looks so easy. My husband loves snickerdoodles, and so I don't know why I've been buying them for him when this really is something that looks like it's going to be so easy. So, hey, before we get started, I would love for you to click that little subscribe button so that you can see all the videos that I have coming out and all the different kinds of things that I do. Like, comment, share, all those good things would be greatly appreciated. But let's get to getting on this snickerdoodle recipe. Okay, so I have all of the ingredients that you're going to need here, and we're going to do it on the fly. So for this, we get to use my best friend, my stand mixer. And it looks like basically if you can stir in a mixer, and you don't have to have a stand mixer, like you can use a hand mixer for this, but I have a stand mixer and I love it. So the very first step, it says to take 2 cups. Y'all, I know there's no letters on this. If you could see what I see, you can see where the letters used to be, but I've had this for probably 30 years. So that's 2 cups, I promise. 2 cups of granulated sugar and 2 sticks of butter. Now, most recipes that make cookies say to use softened butter. But if you're anything like me and anything like apparently the lady from Beyond Frosting, you forget to do that. So what she suggests is taking the butter and cutting it up into chunks and then letting the mixer do the work. I like that plan a lot. So here's 1 stick, and this is unsalted butter. So that's 1 stick, and then I'm doing the second stick here. Snickerdoodles are just a great cookie to have anytime. Doesn't have to be a holiday or any special occasion. It's just one of those cookies, like chocolate chip cookies, that you can just have whenever. And so, so, so yummy. All right, so I got all my little pieces in there. And then it says to mix that together. So I've locked it in place, and we are going to let the mixer do the work here. I don't want that sugar to jump out on me, so I'm starting off kind of low. There's a little piece trying to get away. All right, she's right. All right, the mixer did the work. There's the sugar and butter mixed together, and then let me see what the next step is. We're going to mix together the eggs and vanilla extract. Okay, so 2 eggs. I'm going to add those. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. I have Mexican vanilla here. You can get, I just love the flavor of it. So you can get, you know, whatever vanilla from the store. All right, that's all mixed together. This is a lot like making chocolate chip cookies. I mean, so super easy. All right, so the next thing she says, in a separate bowl, combine the dry ingredients and then slowly add them into the batter until combined and dough starts to form. So the dry ingredients are 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I've got 2 cups in there already. I was going to show you on my third cup, I take my flour and put it in a wide mouth airtight container. And this is what I wanted to show you, that I can fit my cup size measuring cup down in there. If you're not using a wide mouth airtight container to store your flour and sugar and all of those things, I highly recommend it. I'll put the link in the description to the ones that I got, but any airtight container, and then you can just scoop your whole thing down in there and store it. And you can hardly see it here, but I take the labels off of whatever I'm storing in and then just slide it down in there. So I know this is all-purpose flour. My sugar one says sugar, you know, etc., etc. So set that aside. There's my 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that I'm going to add the rest of the dry ingredients, which is a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I've got pink Himalayan. She probably uses regular salt, but that's what I use, and that's what we're going to do. Baking soda, not powder, soda. Half a teaspoon also. And then a 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Oh, good grief. I can't even get this open. My heavens. Well, that's embarrassing. Okay. You know what we're going to do? We're just going to cut it. I had to go purchase this because it was the only ingredient I didn't have, but I needed it for another recipe, so it worked out perfectly. All right, so 1/2 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Put that in there. All right, stir all those things around. I'm just using my leveler to stir it around. And then it says to incorporate those things a little at a time. So put maybe 1/3 of that in there to start with. Mix that up. Okay, put a little bit more. So I feel like this is kind of just like a basic cookie base. Woo! Okay, well, there's that. In real life, folks. You want to do this on low. My counters are clean. I washed them prior to starting this. So don't start it off too fast, or you're going to end up like me with flour all over your counter. All right. Let me grab a little spatula. Pop all this dough off of here. And then, so the next thing that she says to do is take the dough and roll it in the cinnamon sugar. So it is 1/4 of a cup of sugar and a tablespoon of cinnamon. And I have already put that in there. I'm going to mix it up. And then I've got an 8x8 pan here because I'm gonna roll all these and stick them in this pan and then put them in the refrigerator because you have to refrigerate them for an hour before you bake them. And then we'll bake them on a cookie sheet with a Silpat mat, and I have a little cookie scoop here. So I'll roll the first one. You can watch that, and then we'll come back after I have them all finished. All right. So apparently the deal is you want these to cool down in the fridge so that butter starts to solidify again before you start baking them. So 1 hour in the fridge. If it's more than 2 hours, then you need to take them out and let them thaw for about 15 or 20 minutes before cooking. So I'm gonna get all these together and then we'll come back when it's time to cook them. Okay, I wanted to bring you back and show you what I've done. I just took an 8x8 pan and put all of, aren't they cute? All of my little balls of Snickerdoodle goodness in this pan, and I'm gonna pop this in the refrigerator for an hour and let that cool. So let me do that, and then I wanna talk to you about a couple of things, so don't go anywhere. Okay, let's chat. So a couple of things. One, you saw me make a hot mess in my kitchen. And you know what? I wanted to say, it's okay. Do it. This is real life, people. If you start with a clean surface, like I scrub my counters before I ever start cooking anything. And then that way, if I'm cooking and something falls on the counter, I've washed my hands, I've scrubbed my countertop, so everything's clean. And then you can just scoop it up or whatever. So that's tip number one. Clean your surface first and then get to cooking, and don't be afraid to make a mess. It's not a big deal. It's your kitchen and it all cleans up. The second thing is, here's a couple of tips. One, the reason that we're rolling those into balls and then rolling them in the sugar first is they're pliable because that butter has warmed up while it was incorporating in there with the sugar. And so it was easy to form those into balls and then roll them in the cinnamon sugar mixture. Then we're gonna put them in the refrigerator for an hour and let them get firmed up again before we cook them. And then that way, when they cook, they're not gonna turn into a flat puddle of a mess. The other thing is, I have 3 sizes of the cookie scoops. I started with the middle size, and that whole bottom layer, that 8x8 sheet is the middle size. And then I decided those are gonna be some big cookies. So I went back and the rest of the cookies I made with my smallest scoop. So we're gonna see how they turn out when we cook them and see how big they are. But I really think that the small cookie scoop is probably gonna be the way to go. And then the last thing I wanna talk to you about is what you're baking on. I have a baking sheet here. I don't remember who makes it. I'll have to look and see. It might be Calphalon. Anyway, I'll look and see. I'll go check my Amazon order and see. But this is a nice thick baking sheet, and I have put a Silpat pan in here. This one is actually by Amazon Basics. That's upside down. Can't see that. So I like to cook with a Silpat sheet or parchment paper. The reason is it puts another layer of protection between your cookie and your sheet, and then they don't stick. So I find with a Silpat that the bottoms don't come out as dark. They're more evenly cooked, like the top and the bottom kind of match. Whereas when I use parchment paper, then the bottoms are a little darker than the tops. Does that make sense? So I like a Silpat for my cookies, but parchment paper is totally fine. If my Silpats aren't clean, or I'm making a ton of cookie sheets full of them, or a ton of cookies, then I will use parchment paper all day long. I love parchment paper. These just seem to cook a little bit more evenly. And then There was one other thing I was going to tell you. I know I said that was the last thing, but I just thought of something else, and now it has escaped me. La la la, what was it? Oh well, maybe it'll come back to me later. But, oh, I know what it was. I want to try a trick. So when these come out, have you seen, I saw a trick on TikTok. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like where you take a glass and you put it on top of your cookies if they're not perfectly round, and you jiggle it around and it makes your cookies straight. So we're gonna try that today. I don't know if it's gonna work because I've never tried it before, but I think it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna give it a little try. So those are gonna sit in the fridge for an hour, then we're gonna pull them out, and then I'm not gonna pull them out until my oven's preheated, and then we're gonna start cooking them. And, oh, I remember what the other thing was. It wasn't the TikTok thing. It was that you want to cook one sheet of cookies at a time. Otherwise, if you've got 2 or 3 or 4 sheets in your oven, then they don't tend to cook as evenly. So put one sheet in at a time. So what I'm gonna do is pull them out, line them up on here, cook one sheet, put that pan back in the fridge to continue cooling while I'm baking each sheet of cookies. So I'm gonna see you back in 1 hour. Stay tuned. Okay, so I am back and I have my little balls of goodness here. I'm going to put these a couple of inches apart on the cookie sheet. They're nice and firm now because they've been in the fridge for an hour. And I'm gonna cook about 12 at a time, and then I'm gonna stick this back in the fridge in between. So we'll be back in just a minute when these are out of the oven. That oven, by the way, is at 350. All right, I'm back. They have been in for 10 minutes. I'm gonna pull them out. They look pretty perfect, but I wanted to try this. Okay. It does straighten them out a little bit. They're mostly straight, but that does kind of make them a little more uniform. Okay, I don't hate that idea. I think because they were already in balls that were cold, they kind of came out perfectly round anyway. But here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to transfer these to a cooling rack. And then I'll put another batch in. We'll let these cool a little bit. And then maybe I can get CJ to test one for us in a little bit. All right, we'll be back. All right, taste testing time. These are the ones that have already cooled.
Yep, they're good.
They'll do?
They'll do.
All right, thanks. Okay, they are perfectly delicious. And I just want to show you what I have done with the rest of them. I took the little already prepared and cold in the fridge balls of cookie dough, and I have put them in a freezer Ziploc bag and labeled them with the month and the year, and I'm going to pop these in the freezer to cook later because I made 2 trays, so that's 24 cookies, and there's only 2 of us here at the house and the boys that stop by occasionally who are in college. So this way, whenever we want snickerdoodles, again, I can just pull them out of the freezer and let them thaw a little bit and then cook them up. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I'm going to drop the link in the description to the recipe and everything else. And I'd love for you to like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, have an extraordinary life.